Hey, welcome to Fruitful Trees, and these trees are still fruitful. It's coming to the end of mango season, but I still have a bunch of mangoes hanging on this specific tree, and I have a bunch of fruit. I just pulled down this rack of bananas, and I got trees loaded with papaya. Not as much fruit now as I have during the summertime, but still enough fruit to make a great meal. And I always tell people you need a goal before you start growing, or you should have a goal. What's your purpose for growing food? And for me, I want to know where my food's coming from, and I want to make available as much food as possible that I enjoy. And what better food is there to meet all those needs of healthy food and food you can enjoy than fruit? And that's why I plant so many fruit trees. And I also like to know where my food comes, so that's why I have a garden, so I know where the greens come. And I want to have the most nutritious food as possible, so that's why I have moringa trees and katuk trees, to know I'm getting the wild edible herbs and the greens and the amazing foods that you just can't get every day at the store. And even if you can, I want to make sure my food's organic and I'm the one that's taking care of it. I'm not getting it from a farm that's spraying the food or something else. Well, speaking of farms, I have a great friend who has a farm. He has an avocado farm. One thing I don't eat, that I don't care if they're organic or not, is avocados. The growing avocados, I know there's not too many pests that bother the tree. You don't need to spray the trees too bad, so I'm fine with unorganic avocados. Well, my friend Tom is going to be in the video today because Tom has an avocado farm, but he also sells mangoes. He has a mamey farm, and just amazing the fruit he has. And I definitely recommend it. I'll put a link below to his farm if you want to buy some of this. But me and him go back on our against each other a little on a philosophy when it comes to health. You see, as I get older, I want to be healthier and be more strict in what I'm doing. It seems as he's get older, he was really strict when he was younger, but he's getting older. He wants to kind of lighten it up a little and have a little freedom, so to say. Well, one of the things that I don't know how anyone can agree with this, but him and his viewers agreed with it, and I'll show you here as we just did this video together. We were doing a video for one of our channels, Tasting Fruit. And I had some of the most delicious mangoes in my hand and talking about just how delicious fruit is. And he's talking about recipes adding sugar to the fruit. And I said, well, sugar's not that healthy and you don't need to add it to things that are already delicious. And he said, no, I love to add sugar to things to make them even more delicious. So this isn't me against Tom or me against other people. This is just to show you the thinking of a lot of people out there today. I'm trying to lose weight even in my skinny state to try to get smaller and stay exercising. This man ran the Ironman, the world famous Ironman race, the one in Hawaii, 2 times, and was literally buff at I think 5'8" or 9. He was 135 pounds. Ran the Ironman and everything else. Now, me and him are the same age, and I think he's put on 40 or 50 pounds since then, and he's happy where he's at. And I'm happy if you're happy with where you're at. But from a health standpoint, as we get older, we should be looking at not putting on extra weight and so on. I believe. And regardless of what anyone believes, adding sugar to any food, whether it's really bad tasting food to make it taste good or really good food to make it taste better, white sugar is literally poison to the body. And most of my friends do that. And I know they care about health because they're not smoking cigarettes for health reasons. So I know they care about health. But when people do things like this, it makes me scratch my head. And how do you feel about it? I'm not just doesn't even go into my audience here. This is just going out in general, a general question. How do you feel about adding sugar to things like sugarcane juice and things like this? Watch this transaction with me and my good friend Tom and see what I'm talking about and tell me if I'm off my rocker here or I'm mistaken or something else. And of course, Tom's viewers were in agreement with him. Sugar's so delicious and it makes things taste great. Watch this and let me know your opinion. I'm curious to know what you all think about this. All right? So here it goes. So we're going to get into some mangoes here. And
oh, wait, before we do,
yes.
a commenter wants to know to describe the flavor of mamey. So we talked about it a little bit, but I would say a texture kind of like banana, where you can scoop it if you want. We cut it into spears, but you could scoop it like pudding.
Like an avocado / banana.
Yes, that kind of texture. And then I think we mentioned, depending on the variety, you start with a base of like a very well-cooked sweet potato.
Yes.
Then add in like tropical. Then depending on variety, it can be more fruity. It could be more like cherries. What do you think?
Yeah, it depends on the variety. It depends on the variety. But I recently had another variety that was a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So it's definitely tropical fruit.
Yeah.
Just add sugar to anything and then you get an idea.
Yeah. And then they want to know, what would you compare it to? Like texture-wise, like you said, banana, avocado, and yeah. It's good. And then sweet potato. Mamey with vanilla ice cream, someone said, which is awesome.
Actually, Latin people eat it frozen in smoothies mostly.
Yep.
They have it in smoothies, but sadly they add sugar. I don't know why you would need to add sugar to them.
To make it taste delicious.
Well, sugar makes anything taste delicious,
so
but
good.
you don't need it when you have such a delicious fruit.
Like I make this jam, Paul, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, that's so delicious. You know why? I use sugar.
But that's not fair because it's not the fruit that's delicious. It's the sugar.
Yeah, but now
you can add sugar to anything and make it taste good, but it's so unhealthy for you.
Or butter. Like when you're cooking a steak, slather that up with butter and people are going to love it. They're going to love it.
Well,
bacon.
They love the butter and the salt and the sugar. They don't love the steak.
That's right. They love, so give the people what they want, you know? I had one of my fellow coaches, he drinks this whole jar down when I give it to him. He takes the top off, drinks it.
The sugar and the preservatives in here might make it last longer, but I can make with mangoes a dessert that is just as sweet, doesn't have processed sugar in it. That'll be beneficial for you to have. And it's just, for me, my goal is not only great tasting fruit, but it's great health and longevity in general. And to have sugar and other things in our diet, especially, I went to a store once, I was buying sugarcane juice, and they were doing the sugarcane in the juicer, and on top of the juicer was a cup with a spoon in it, and they start taking tablespoons of sugar and putting in the sugarcane juice.
I bet it was delicious.
And I'm like, what in the world? Why would you need to add sugar to sugarcane juice?
Oh, to make it delicious.
And no, it's delicious without it. It's completely delicious without it.
But it's deliciouser with it.
No, it's crazy that you would need to do that.
Oh my God.
It's really bad.
This jam, everyone, and then when I cook at home, like I'll use like butter. Oh, people love it. And they're always like, what's your secret? I'm like,
I am going to have a bumper sticker. Well, I hope I will. Don't hold me to it. But no sugar to our fruit.
Yeah.
It don't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I use sugar. I put sugar in my shakes. I've done the Ironman triathlon twice.
Actually, that's how I met Julian, actually, at Laura Farms. I didn't know who he was, and I was watching the video, and he was making a mamey smoothie, and he was adding so much sugar to it. And I said, I got to call this guy and just tell him, even if he doesn't listen, that thing's not healthy. And I did call him, I told him, and he said, well, you can come taste my mameys, whatever. And I did, and we become great friends. But I'm not a fan of processed sugar, because the whole reason I eat fruit is to live a long, healthy life and not to add stuff that's going to keep me from living a long, healthy life.
Yeah.
And fruit, you don't need sugar. It's so sweet. What is that? What variety?
That's a kit.
We have different audiences, right?
No, we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it is what it is.
No, I'm a bit more relaxed about, I'll tell you this, Paul. Throughout most of my young adult life, I was really into fitness. I was a swimmer, a runner, played a lot of racquetball. Eventually, I've done the Ironman triathlon twice. I even did the World Championships in Hawaii. I came in third from last in my category, but I still did it, And a lot of exercising, a lot of watching my diet, a lot of eating right. There were times I'm eating to lose weight. There's times I'm eating to gain muscle, different things throughout my life. And then once I got into my 50s, I was like, all right, now I'm just going to relax a little bit, You know, after a lifetime of being very stringent, no French fries, nothing like that. Like I enjoy eating French fries, so I ate some fries last night.
Well, I mean, okay. But that's my thing. When I got into my 50s, even more than ever before, the older I get, the healthier I try to be, or stingent as you call it.
Yeah.
Because I suffered from a disease when I was younger, and I deal every day with people that are suffering from disease that doctors gave up on them, and I know the connection between diet and our health. And I think it's a lack of knowledge. Like, I know you might say sugar or something else just might not be great for you or might not be good, but I know like what this stuff does to every organ in the body and how bad it is. And I think if you knew, like, you don't smoke cigarettes because
Correct.
number one, you don't enjoy it, but number two is you know how bad it is.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't as bad and you enjoyed it a little, maybe you would smoke.
Correct.
So I don't know if you know, or people that casually drink, things that aren't good for them, or I don't know if you know to the degree of how bad it is and how it damages the body. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Would you say you do? I know you're into fitness, and that's like one of the main things you studied in the past, but do you know how bad it is?
I'll tell you, I might not know how bad it is, and I probably more so don't care, and I tend to believe in Pareto's law, the 80-20 rule, that 20% of what we do gives us 80% of our results. Look at a basketball team, 5 guys on the court, there's always one guy that carries the team. 80-20 rule, right? You see it pop up on graphs and charts and in finance all the time, and I feel like the way I try to manage my life is if I could do the 20% that gives me the 80% benefit, then I move on to the next thing that I could do 20% and I don't try to get that last 20%. If
I or a study or something could prove to you that 20% might take away like 5 years of your life, or might create the 5 last of your life being in excruciating pain.
Right.
Would that make a difference, or is the enjoyment still important?
Right, then I'd have to weigh it against going to Jackson's at Dania Beach and having a banana split. And you have to weigh that against, like, do you want to trade, right? Now, I know you could jump to the argument and say, well, why not get on heroin or OxyContin if you're going to get all that pleasure, while you're high and then just die young, right? So there's, like, extremes. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like good enough is good enough, right? And so I personally, and again, this isn't arguing with you or
not at all.
Trying to arm twist you in any way.
Yeah.
This is just an explanation of my own personal philosophy that, like, my cholesterol's low, all my, readings and stuff are in good shape. And so, and being an active person, because this is it's a very active, like when you're out, even picking a dozen mangoes, you're working up a sweat, like, you move
But if
a
a
lot
study
of
came out saying, like, French fries were going to reduce your life by 3 years, would you continue to eat French fries, even though if it's occasionally?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, so yeah. I think that's just a lack of knowledge, and I don't say it in a bad way. Yeah. I'm just saying I think, some of the things like processed sugar will create disease and destroy your organs, even in a small amount, so I think, if you had more if you've seen the studies more, you might be like, hey, I might look for even cane sugar versus processed table white sugar or something. You might make some changes, or
I might not.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And like I say, it's not like I have a terrible diet. It's not like I'm, eating omelets with cheese every morning. It's just I feel like I put enough effort into that and enough focus, and then I've got other things to put effort and focus into.
Is there anything like that's so bad that you know of that you definitely wouldn't touch? Not that you don't like, but is there something like so bad that now I won't touch that?
Like a food, you mean?
From a health standpoint, is there anything that you can think of? No, nothing.
No, there's not a food that I wouldn't. Now, there's foods I won't like eat regularly or make a staple of my diet, you know what I mean? But I love a nice steak, but I don't eat steak every day,
Would you say white sugar or processed sugar is a staple in your diet, or no?
No, it's not something I eat a lot of. Most of what I think a lot of people get their sugar through drinks, and mostly what I drink is either unsweet iced tea, which I'm sure you have issues with the caffeine, but I either drink unsweet iced tea or I drink a lot of club soda. you know? So I don't get a lot of sugar in my diet, like from sugary drinks. However, if if I have dinner at someone's house and they serve chocolate cake, I'm going to eat it. Now that said, and I wanted to say this when we were talking about the jam, and I mean this. I mean what I'm about to say. The best apple pie I ever tasted in my life was at Thanksgiving at your house, and it was a raw vegan apple pie, correct?
Yes, with no sugar added.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
Yes.
And it had a nice crunchy crust. You would have sworn it was like some crumbled something that had been baked, which I know it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It was just.
And I went back for seconds, and I went back for seconds, and it's not like you had 10 pies.
Yeah.
Normally, I'll take a few bites of something, and I'm like, okay, let the other people have it. But when you offered me seconds, I took it.
Yeah.
It was freaking good, dude.
And well, I've learned, and one thing I could say is I love the taste of sugar. I love sweet things, and I love all foods, but I've learned how to make, like I won't eat a steak, but I can make things that are from vegan products taste like a steak. You know, I know how to, I know how to make things extra sweet without adding, like I could add like dried dates to something and make it sweeter. I wouldn't add the processed white sugar, but I could make it just as sweet. Like I would make this with something like that. I would make this with like a raw date sugar instead of processed white sugar.
And I bet it would be good. Yeah. What I want to do next year is I want to make like maybe 8 or a dozen jars of some of the high-end mango. But that I wouldn't put like sugar or any other kind of flavors. I would do it more like preserves, unadulterated, you know? But like, I mean, Paul, you got to admit, like, you do take a lot of shit from people busting your balls about your diet, but I never do that to you.
Actually, I don't. A lot of people.
I've seen people, they poke at you a little bit.
Some people, but no. I mean, it's. But here's the thing. Like when you were competing in Ironmans, how tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
And how much did you weigh when you were competing in Ironmans?
137.
137.
Yeah.
And how did you feel?
Oh, I felt like Superman. I was in the peak shape, almost the peak shape of my life. Maybe 2 years later, when I was just racing bicycles, I was unstoppable.
And now 5'8", how much do you weigh?
Right now, I'm $180, maybe $185.
Okay, so 50 pounds more almost.
Yeah, 45 pounds
more. So do you
more.
believe, in your mind, do you believe that if you maintain that shape you were in back then versus the shape you're in now, the life span would be increased?
No.
You don't?
I'll tell you why. I purposely added because I was emaciated. People, when I started gaining a little weight, one person confessed to me that some of my coworkers, there was a rumor that I was on chemotherapy because I was so shrunken. But like when you're doing that kind of, when you're doing a 15-hour.
If you were able to run an Ironman, I can guarantee you were at the peak weight you should be for your height, even though you looked to people.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
Because everyone's overweight, but you looked fine. I mean, you didn't look fine because they're all overweight, so you look skinny.
That's part of it. However, that was in my 30s. As I got into my 40s, I deliberately got rid of some of the cardio I was doing and started hitting the gym and put on muscle, because as we get older, your muscle atrophies also. So I'm stronger now. I can lift more, which is necessary for my job, than back then. Like when I was like that skinny, when I went to open the door at 7-Eleven, I had to like pull back on it, where now I just walk right through.
Yeah. Did you do muscle building exercises back then?
No.
Well, that was the issue. It wasn't the food.
Correct.
The low amount of food. Because if you did do muscle building exercise back then, you wouldn't be able to lift as much because you weigh 50 pounds more now, but you would have had good muscle that wouldn't have been...
No. It's not like I was too weak to open the door. What I'm saying is I was so light that I had to lean, where when you're heavier, you can just pull the door.
But pound for pound, would you say you were that much weaker or stronger?
Well, yes, however, I very specifically, we wouldn't lift weights on purpose, because when you race bicycles, having big biceps doesn't help at all, right? Having big core muscles doesn't help. You want big quads and calves, so you're just working on legs. And if you're carrying an extra 2 pounds of arm muscle, that's just 4 pounds more during the race. So you're specifically like scrawny, and you know what I mean? And then I said, I can't go through the rest of my life that way. So then I went in the other direction and did like some cycles of like, putting on weight, lifting, building muscle, and then cutting. And then, so it's just a different approach. different,
Okay.
you know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I tell everyone, do what's working for you.
Yeah.
That's what I tell everyone. Do if you feel like you're at the best you can be, do what's working for you. But,
Yeah, and what I'm doing right now is explaining, not like selling, arm twisting, or even justifying. You know what I mean? Because I'm like Popeye, I am's what I am's.
yeah.
You know?
All right, everybody. I highly respect this man on so many levels. He's a great friend. I trust my children with him. That's how much I trust him and his wife and respect him as a friend. But anyone who doesn't know that white sugar is a poison to the body, and there should be no excuse to have it at any time, I want people to know the knowledge. What they decide to is great, and the only thing that I could explain in my mind is why people would do something like that is because of the lack of knowledge. That's the only reason that I think somebody could do that. I think if Tom and people like Tom knew that white sugar was as bad as smoking a cigarette, or maybe even worse from an overall health standpoint, you wouldn't even just do it just now and then. You don't smoke a cigarette just now and then because you know how bad it is. Well, white sugar is really bad, folks. Really bad. And addicting as well. So I pray Tom and his family and everyone watching would just see that it's crazy to think that you would need to do that. One of the reasons I eat fruit is because this is a mamey, by the way, which Tom grows. And this one's actually ready now. But one of the reasons I eat fruit is because I want to eat something that's sweet and delicious, natural sugar, not added sugar. And this mamey is ready right now because Tom taught me this actually. When I peel it, when I scratch it, it's orange. It's not green. So I know it's ready. So you're going to view me right here on the Real Life Health Show. Take off a ripe mamey. Wow. So I've been trying to figure out when to pick these, but when it's orange like that. You see all the times I scratched it to see in anticipation. But this is a mamey fruit, one of the sweetest fruits in the world. And this is what sparked this conversation. Because we have a mutual friend, Julian, at Laura Farms, who was making, and a lot of Latin people do this, a mamey smoothie. And this is one of the sweetest fruits on the planet, folks. But in the smoothie, he was putting white sugar. Obviously, it wasn't a health channel. But I'm like, you got the sweetest fruit in the world. Why do you need to put sugar in there? Anyway, I love my friend Julian. I love my friend Tom. But I don't love their health choices. So I'm hoping they change on that. And I'm excited because I got this fruit. You can get mamey fruit from Tom. Tom sells mameys at his website, guacfarm.com, guacfarm.com. And he sells different varieties of avocados. And he has just wonderful mangoes during mango season. I'm going to put a link below to that. My friend Julian also has amazing mameys. I'll put a link to his channel as well. And again, this isn't about them or me. This is just about a decision that should be common sense. White sugar is bad as cigarettes, and we shouldn't eat it on any time or any reason. And so hopefully people get that. People learn that. And yeah. So besides this, I'll show you this other thing here. One of the things that doesn't grow here quite well in South Florida, which is one of the sweetest fruits you'll ever find, is persimmon. And I got this tropical persimmon that we're growing. Persimmons in South Florida. Amazing. Sweet, sweet, sweet. And there's a big difference between homegrown fruit and store-bought fruit. And this is what I try to explain to people that love to eat fruit. A big difference between homegrown and store-bought. So buy food from people where you know. If you can't grow it yourself, the next best thing is to buy it from people where you know who it's coming from. And Tom and Julian are the places I would send people to buy these fruits. And if you go to my channel, Fruitful Trees, I interview both of them a lot, often talking about the amazing fruits that they actually grow. And when they have them for sale, I talk about that as well. Delicious, amazing, and healthy. And you don't need to add sugar. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Let me know your opinion about this below. Am I just being too strict? Or is it okay to have some fun and add some white sugar sometimes? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, everybody. Links are below to all the people I spoke about and what they're selling. And have a great day and a great world life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Nature's well, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.